Hi everyone, Teresa here. I am doing some gel printing with some Petite gel plates. I picked these up. These are gel press Petites. The ones I got are the circle, square, and triangle. I think those are the only ones that I saw, but after I was doing a little research after I got these, I realized there's different designs that you could get. But these are 3 inches, and I thought I would gel print with all 3 of them and just see how they work and what I would make with them. To get started, I just left mine on the plastic. I peeled off one side but left it on the other because I want to use these kind of like a stamp. And you could put this on a clear block if you wanted to, but I wanted more mobility, so I left it on the plastic. I want to do a little bit of priming to these because they are brand new, so I just used some cheap craft paint, and I'm just gonna put some paint down and remove the paint with my tissue paper. And right now I'm not concerned. These aren't really prints that I'm making. This is just me getting warmed up, and they perform a little bit better after they've had some paint on them. Now, before I started researching much about these little jelly plates, I haven't really seen too many people using them, but turns out a lot of people do use them. I just didn't have them in my feed apparently, probably because I didn't search them before. But what I wanted to use them for was to make little elements that I can put on my cards because they're just the right size. So I'm going in with my first layer now that I've got the plates primed. This is my rose. I think it's a permanent rose from my Winsor & Newton paints. And these are from Ranger. They're just cardboard, and they have alphabets in them, and it kind of removes some of the letters. The one on the circle is brand new, like I hadn't used that one before, whereas the other one I had used with some acrylic paints. So it doesn't remove all of the letters on the cardboard side because it's got that paint and it kind of resists removing it. Whereas when I removed it from the circle, it removed all of that paint on the inside. So I thought that looked really cool. I brought a couple of different textures to the square and the circle just because I felt like there's still quite a bit of paint, and I wanted this first layer to be, not overwhelming because I'm going to layer some colors behind this first layer. So first I'm using an orange and a yellow. I only used a tiny bit, and I just put a little bit on my square and brayered enough onto each of my designs, and then I went in with the orange and started blending it with the yellow. I really did not need a lot of paint. That's what I was finding out after doing that first priming session. I put paint on all 3. I realized I really don't need that much paint because these are so tiny. Let me know in the comments if you have used these petite or mini gel plates. And let me know what's your favorite way of using them, and do you enjoy using them, or do you find you don't use them as often as a regular gel plate? I'm curious to know what I will be doing, but I think my favorite of the shapes right now is definitely the circle, but the square comes in second. The triangle is tricky for me because I don't really make designs with triangles, but the square and the circle definitely. So as of right now, I'm kind of sticking on the warm side. The purple is bringing in a little bit of the cooler side. I really wanted a kind of like a grungy surrounding to this warm design that's created in the center. So I am focusing my purple only on the edges. That was too little of an amount of paint, so I did have to add just a little bit more to finish off the square, the circle, and the triangle. I had an idea to use my Winsor & Newton ink, this is acrylic ink, with a pipette and just drop it onto my prints. I really wasn't sure if this was even going to work because some of the gel plate was showing, and I know the inks on the gel plate just kind of become like blobs, I guess. But the paint, wherever the paint was, it was actually catching it, and then I was making these little bubbles if I squeezed the pipette slow enough. So you had to get rid of most of the ink, just a little bit on the bottom, and squeeze real slow, and it created these little bubbles, and I thought they were really fun. I didn't know if they were going to stay looking like, you know, the circles from bubbles, but I was able to also pick up some of the extra ink in certain areas with this pipette. So I was having a lot of fun with this. And then I also was kind of grouping the bubbles together to get a cool looking design. This was very relaxing to do. Then I started painting with the end of my pipette. Where there was a lot of ink left, I just kind of used that as a puddle to paint with, and I was able to make some really cool looking lines and some squiggles. Some of the paint spots were not drying, so I used my blower tool. This is what I usually use with my alcohol inks, but I was able to get that ink to move around, and it created more interesting designs and effects. And it did help to dry it, but it was still going kind of slow, so I did pull out my blow dryer on the cool setting. Now I wanted to add coolness to these prints, so I'm using my Interference Blue, and this really is such a cool color. It's almost like a purpley blue, but it definitely gives that pop of coolness. I like that I could line this up wherever I wanted on my paper. And I ended up flipping it over and pressing it down just like I would a regular gel print. I added the Interference Blue to all 3 of these gel plates, and I am using watercolor paper for all 3. This is the Artist Loft watercolor paper 90 pound, and I cut them down so that they would fit on a card but also would fit these designs. So it's a little over 3 inches, maybe 3.5 on one side, and I think it's 4 on the other, 4 or 4.5. I like that I can already see how cool these prints are going to be. I actually went and had dinner while these were drying, so they were probably drying for maybe 30 minutes. Everything came up. It was just perfect. And I love the size of these. They're so cute. I think it turned out so pretty. And you definitely get the coolness from that Interference Blue, much more than the warm shows up on here. So I was quite surprised it had such an impact, but I really liked it still. I thought that all the colors worked really well together. It definitely had a little bit of a grungy vibe to it, but also I just love all the colors. The circle ended up maintaining more warm on the warm side, and then it was also my favorite. I just love the circle. I think there's so much I can do with the circle one, and I definitely see myself using that one probably more than the other 2. Now I want to add some stamping on top of these since I know I'm going to be putting them on cards. I have these distress glazes that I haven't used yet, and I'm really excited to try these, and I think they'll look so cool on these backgrounds. This one is the fired brick. I'm going to start with that in this center stamp. This stamp set is from JournalSay. I'm using my Versa Mark ink. This is just my clear ink. I'm just putting this on the jelly plate so that if I stamp over or past my paper, it will be on the jelly plate. And it does help me get a really good impression because it's kind of got that squishy surface. I wanted to use 2 of these glazes, so I've got the fired brick and I put it on a little bit of both sides where I stamped. And then I put all of that powder back into the container, and then I'm using Rusty Hinge to fill in anywhere where I might have missed any of the red areas. I just wanted to have both of these colors together. I thought they were so pretty. So this is what it looks like embossed, and again it's a glaze, so it doesn't stand out like gold or a silver would, but it definitely has that texture to it, you know, the embossed shine, and I just think it looks so nice. Next I'm going to use this wreath. It's like not half of a circle, a little more than half a circle, but I wanted this one over my circle jelly print, and I'm doing the same technique using my Versamark ink, and then I'm going to use some of the antique linen, and I'm going to mix this one with the walnut. So the antique linen I'm just doing kind of in the center and towards the one end where it was like not quite closed, and I'll pour the rest of that off, and then I'll come in with my walnut stain and fill in the rest of the area, focusing more on the outer side. Especially because this design goes off of the circle a little bit, and having the darker color on the outer side makes it so it shows up more on the white. Okay, moving into some color inspiration. These are just some pre-made cards from Michaels that I'll sometimes use for my cards, actually a lot of times. But this time I wanted to use them as color inspiration and make my own backgrounds inspired by them. So I picked these 2 colors for the yellow one, the purple and blue for that middle purple one, and the purple and the ochre pink or ochre rose for that last one. I was trying to decide how I wanted to stamp my sentiments and what ink I wanted to use, and as I was kind of testing it out on some tester paper, I realized when I stamped off onto a gel print, it was just like my Brayer off page. The gold ink that my sister gifted to me a while ago, maybe like 3 months ago, works perfectly on a jelly print. So it doesn't work so great on a regular piece of paper. You can hardly see the gold on the white, but look at it on the gel print. It's perfect. And I was so excited about that. And then I wanted to add a little bit of shadow with my VersaFine Onyx black ink. And then I thought, well, maybe I can add some text to the background of this print. This print isn't even anything to do with the prints that I made today. It just happened to be a print I had like on standby, and I was testing out how this gold was working on a jelly print. So I thought that was really fun. Don't know if I'll actually use that in any of my cards that use these prints, but I just thought it was really pretty. And then I realized I could just stamp on my jelly plate with that gold. So I'm making my first kind of colorful print here. I'm mixing that unbleached titanium and my orange. It's actually Naples yellow, but it kind of looks like an orange hue. I'm just spraying that, and I'm going to use a texture. This is an embossed piece of cardstock. I thought the circles were really fun. I know this is going on a card, so I wasn't concerned that it only took up a design in the center because I knew I'd have to cut down my piece of paper anyway. When that dried, I added in a darker tone, so I've got some orange, a little bit of yellow, and more of the unbleached titanium. Now this turned out to be a little more orange than I was thinking it would be. I thought it would be maybe a little bit lighter, but I'll work on fixing it and making it more how I like it as we go along. I'm using just a book page here, and I really like text on some of these background pieces, just a little text. So I cover up most of it with my printing, but you can still see the text. Now that didn't get everything up, but that's okay because I'm going to keep layering. As my gel plate was drying, I decided to take this embossed card that I was going to use to gel print with and cut around the edge of the floral piece so that I could use it and not have those harsh lines around the edge. We'll come back to using that one, but for now, back to the orange print. I put some gold over this design, and gold kind of has a translucent quality to it. I used a little bit of my drywall tape and created a little design, and then I took the orange print and laid it right over that design. I just let it dry a little bit, maybe 1 minute, and it removed most of the paint that was left on there and the gold. So this definitely left it much more on the gold side. So to offset that, I added one more layer and I mixed my purple and blue, just a very light amount of both of them. And then I used that same circle design, and this time I pulled up a print of this on the top and the bottom of the gel plate. And while that was still wet, I lined up my orange print right over the top. Not really concerned with where the original circles were because they were kind of covered up by the gold anyway. And this adds a really nice touch of the purple and blue to mix with that orange and gold. I thought that looked really nice. Next, I mixed the purple and blue and I used this pretty floral print. I had a line in the center, so I just used another one of my cardstock pieces to create this text in that area. To try to keep things cohesive, I used more of my gold and I mixed that with this blue, the light powder blue color. Not even realizing it, it ended up creating almost like a green, which was really pretty. Now this one started to tear, so I pulled it from the other side and it didn't tear anymore, so I was glad about that. This background was one of the favorites of the three that I pulled. I really liked how these colors pop from each other on that gold side. Next, I'm making that pinkish purple one. And then I have the pretty floral design that I cut the edge off of, and I'm going to use that on the top and the bottom. I hand made this texture of corrugated cardboard on one side and drywall tape on the other, and that was really helpful to press these designs in without touching it. You could also use some tissue paper, but I thought it was nice to have a little bit of a design on the border. When that dried, I used my Naples yellow and some of the gold, and I mixed those together. I used the drywall tape side of this texture and just got a little more of a detail before adding my final print on this book page. I was really happy how this one turned out as well. I think that pink and purple really pop from the kind of yellowy gold background. So here are the 3 prints that I created from the book pages, and these are going to work well with my 3 jelly print pieces. So coming back to my triangle, it was hard for me to figure out what to do to this one, and I decided on honey. It says hello honey is the sentiment, and I have some honeycombs that I think will fit perfect on this triangle. I'm using that gold and a little bit of black. And then I came in with just the gold right over the top. I did offset it a little, so it looks like it has a shadow. Next I have the gold and that honeycomb, and that fit perfectly on the top part of my triangle. Since there was extra space on the bottom of the triangle, I stamped a bee. And I used more of my gold ink to put some more designs on the triangle. I want to color in my bee. I'm using these water-soluble pens. There's a blue for the wings, and then I mixed a yellow and an orange for the body. And since they work great with water, I used some clean water just to blend the colors. So instead of cutting this one out, I decided I would tear it so that I had a nice rough edge around the three sides. Plus it's straight line, so I figured this was easy enough to just tear all three sides. And I think it looks really cool like this. The honey part was getting a little bit lost, so I used a black marker just to create a shadow. And I think that makes it stand out better. So let's take a look at what we made here. I've got the square that I cut out. I've got the circle that I did some stamping around, and I've got the triangle that I tore out and I cut out the little bee. Then I've got the background pieces that I made that are going to complement these very bright and colorful jelly prints with the toned down or muted colors. So I think that these look so good together. I know it's kind of hard to imagine how these are gonna look like on a card and finished. I will be sharing a short to show the finished cards, and that way you get to see what they look like when I'm done. And for my members, I am going to share the video of how I turn these into the cards. So stay tuned for that for members, and for my subscribers or anyone checking out this video and you're interested to see what these look like when they're finished, stay tuned for that short video. I'll link it to this video when I have it ready to go. Thank you so much for watching and being here today and following along as I learn these new little jelly plates and how versatile they are and how much fun I could have with these. Can't wait to try more techniques with these, and let me know in the comments if there's a particular technique you think I should try with them. Otherwise, I'm just going to be experimenting like I normally do. And of course, I will see you all in the next video, and in the meantime, happy crafting, y'all.